We kick off this hour in Colorado with a look at the Stepmother Murder Trial. Have you heard about this one? So it's been more than 3 years that the family and the friends of little Ganon Stauch, this is him here, have been waiting for justice. He's the 11-year-old boy who was killed by his stepmother, Letecia Stauch. That is the allegation by the state of Colorado. Now, she's pleaded not guilty. There's a caveat, though, by reason of insanity. Now, this case just kicked off Monday. Opening statements were delivered by both sides. Colette Bordelon with our affiliate KMGH has a look back at the courtroom action.
Ganon Stauch lived in southern El Paso County in a neighborhood called Lorson Ranch. His stepmom Letecia called 911 to report him as missing in late January 2020. Prosecutors claim Letecia stabbed, beat, and shot Ganon while he was in his bed, then moved his body into a storage unit before she called the sheriff's office. His body was found in a suitcase under a bridge in Florida in late March. Defense attorneys aren't even contesting if their client did it, since she's pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. And that's the central question of this trial, is whether or not Letecia was sane when she killed Ganon. The trial is being streamed online, so we were able to pull this quick bit of the opening statements.
All of her actions were purposely designed by her to distance herself from what she did. Throw off investigators, buy her time, escape accountability for what she did to Ganon.
Meanwhile, the defense is arguing that Letecia Stauch suffered extreme trauma as a child, including physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. They say that what she did was horrible and wrong, but they also say she wasn't sane at the time.
The person that she was killing that day, attacking, it wasn't Ganon. She was killing the demons of her life from the dark depths of her childhood.
Prosecutors have a witness list that has dozens and dozens of names on it, including both of Ganon's parents and Letecia Stauch's daughter. They actually mentioned that witness in their opening statements. Clearly, they think that testimony is going to be very valuable to their case. She's the one that they claim was in the vehicle that Letecia drove to Florida, where Ganon's body was ultimately found. And all of this is in the hands of the jurors to decide whether or not they think Letecia Stauch was sane at the time. In Colorado Springs, Colette Bordelon.
Again, thanks to our affiliate there in Colorado for that report. Let's talk about this more, shall we? Let me bring in my guest. He's a practicing criminal defense attorney and a former prosecutor. He's in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Our friend Joe Tamburino on the show this morning. Good morning to you, Joe. This one, I know you've been watching for quite some time. You're very familiar with the facts, the law surrounding this one. Who's got the better case going in at this juncture, in your opinion, please?
Good morning, Julie. Thanks for having me on. Well, the state has the better case, and here's why. Insanity is a very hard climb uphill for several reasons. Number one, just in terms of the public's view, it is very hard to convince a jury that someone was insane at the time, just commonsensically. Second, anytime we hear the insanity defense, it is normally with very hellacious crimes. And because of the grisly facts of those cases, it's hard to convince the jury. And lastly, it's always a battle of the experts. So the defense will have experts, but the state will definitely have experts to say, no, in this case, she might have some mental illness issues, but of course she knew from right and wrong. So whenever you get involved in an insanity case, usually the state has the better case.
Yes, I'm in agreement with you, my friend. And you're right, they did mention some mental health difficulties. The defense is saying that she's been diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. More people know it as the previous name, multiple personality disorder. And they were saying that she suffered a lot of abuse in childhood, sexual abuse, physical abuse, all that. But if you're the state, you're going to come back hard, right, with those experts, as you said, Joe, and say, you know, there are a lot of people that have been sexually abused, physically abused, and do not go on to commit a murder. So that's going to be the state's position. Let's listen to the 911 call, and we'll talk more about, did she know? Was she able to understand? You know, that's what the defense is saying, that she couldn't at the time. Here, she tells the dispatcher that she was the last person to see little Ganon alive.
Here you'll hear, ask the defendant, who was the last person to see Ganon?
And who was the last person to see him? I guess me.
The evidence will show that she was the last person to see Ganon alive. The evidence will show that she was sane on January 27, 2020, when she ended Ganon's life. The evidence will show that she acted intentionally and deliberately when she took Ganon's life. And then we will ask you to convict her.
Joe Tamburino, how about that awkward pause there from her? What'd you think?
It was very awkward. And what the prosecution is getting at, and I think they'll expand it throughout the trial and definitely in closing arguments, is they will try to, in a legal way, belittle the defense of basically temporary insanity. That all of a sudden someone is sane, they might have certain mental health issues, but then boom, in a light switch, they become insane and they do some act, and then boom, with another light switch, they're back to sanity. That's really hard to pull off from the defense. So I think the prosecution is going to really delve into that and attack it.
Definitely. I'm with you, Joe. And then especially when we think about how this poor child was attacked and how badly he must have suffered, how painful that must have been for that 11-year-old boy. Because the first method, as you know, Joe, was stabbing. And then when that didn't work, because little Gannon was fighting for his life, somebody used a gun to shoot him. I'm going to go back to the point in the open where the state talks about this, and then we'll discuss on the other side.
The defendant attacked him viciously, mercilessly, deliberately, and intentionally. These are exhibits that you'll see from the doctor down in Florida, Dr. Ignacio, when she performed the autopsy. He'll tell you that Gannon suffered 18 stab wounds to his body, his chest, his back, his head, and most importantly, his arms and his hands. Why is that important? Gannon was fighting for his life, and those were defensive wounds. Next came a crushing blow to his head that was so strong, it fractured his skull like an eggshell. That wasn't enough for this defendant. He retrieved a 9mm handgun, fired it at Gannon 3 times. 2 bullets struck the pillow near him and were caught in the fibers of that pillow. That 3rd bullet entered his jaw, traveled through his head, fracturing his mandible, his vertebrae, hitting his spinal cord, and lodged in the back of his head and was recovered at autopsy. Gannon's life drained from his body, drop by drop.
Oh, when you hear that, it makes you want to cry, doesn't it? Joe, thoughts on this and the state needing to prove intent here?
What's very interesting in any kind of case where you have insanity is what are the moments where the means of death change. So it starts out with stabbing, but then since that appears not to work, she switches over to a gun. And within that period of time, and I would suppose an expert will testify to this for the state in the trial, the expert could say within that period of time, she had the ability to reflect on what she had done. And perhaps at that period of time, she said, well, I already did this. I stabbed him 18 times. Now I need to finish it off. Now I have pure intent to kill this very young person, 11 years old, and she gets the gun. So anytime in these insanity cases, experts will parse out what are the periods of time where a defendant had a time to reflect, to say, wait a minute, even if I did do something horrible, I have to stop, I have to go back. Or if they intentionally take the next step to do it, that shows that they're sane.
Appreciate it, Joe. Excellent analysis. Let's look at the other side now. I'm going to play a clip from the defense open. And at this portion of it, the attorney is talking about how she was stabbing demons. She was getting rid of her demons. Let's watch.
The person that she was killing that day, attacking, it wasn't Gannon. It wasn't Gannon to her. Wake up that day and go, I'm going to kill. No, she was killing the demons from the dark depths of her childhood and her life.
Joe, you know, I hear this in the argument. It's like, oh, this is deep. This is fascinating. This is sinister. But then I think, you know, where did those demons go? Because she was cleaning up after, if they're saying she's the one who did this and she did the cleanup, she created the alibi, she seemed very with it when she talked to the media and said she had nothing to do with Gannon's death. Do me a favor, help me pick apart what the defense is saying here legally.
Well, first of all, you hit it right on the head. What are the actions of a defendant after the crime? That's very, very telling. I mean, many situations, a defendant's most incriminating period of time is what do they do after the act happened? And in this case, that shows that she reflected on her acts. She knew basically what was happening, and she decided to clean it up. Switch it this way, though. If you had a really good insanity defense, where someone killed some person thinking they were demons, and when that person died and the demons in their head died, what did they do? They all of a sudden said, oh, I'm going to call the police. Look what happened. I just killed a demon. I just took out the most evil person in the world. They would think nothing of it. They wouldn't all of a sudden start cleaning up the mess and making sure there's an alibi and moving the body. So it's very, very important to check out what did the defendant do after the act.
Isn't that the truth? And a neighbor spoke to her after the act when little Gannon was missing, and people around the country were wondering, where did he go? Where is this child? Let's listen to what the neighbor said about Letecia Stauch.
So when I came home from work and I looked over there, she was smiling. She was actually acting like she was at a barbecue, because I was like, that's very strange. My son's missing. I'm over here acting like we're having a party, because a lot of people came to the neighborhood to offer to look for Gannon, and she was out there smiling, and she was just enjoying the company and was just too relaxed, not like a parent that was missing their child.
Not like a parent who was missing their child, right? I hope this neighbor is a witness in this case. If the state's smart, they're going to call her, right, Joe?
Call everybody that's affiliated with this case, especially what did she, being the defendant, say or do after the act. There's no doubt about it. You and I have talked about this a number of times before in other cases. Things like, you know, the consciousness of guilt. What did someone do after an act that would show that they're guilty or that what they just did was an intentional crime?